Hi, I'm Hitesh Oberoi, batch of 1994, IIT Delhi, Nilgiri Hostel, Hawa, JE rank 64. And if you are from another hostel, रिश्ते में तो तुम्हारे बाप लगते हैं, नाम है शहंशाह. The MBA happened because I was bad at computer science.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So I did not do well at IIT.
Okay.
I managed. I was not at the bottom of the class. I was like I did not want to go overseas. So a lot of my classmates in those days, the ones who were very bright, they went overseas because they got scholarships for higher education.
Right. IIT Delhi or IIM Bangalore?
That's a tough way. I don't think I want to answer that. The TD tables here, the mess there.
Yeah.
And we had a freshers night there. So there was I don't know if there is a ragging culture now, but there was a lot of ragging in those days at IIT.
Okay.
So we had it culminated with a freshers night.
Okay.
And the freshers night was organized here, and I had to sing a song on freshers night. So
which was that song?
So that song was Jumma Chumma De De.
Okay.
I met film stars on flights.
Okay.
Who have offered to become brand ambassadors on Naukri. बहुत चीजें होती थी, like Neil Best was of course every hostel used to think they were the best.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of hostel spirit, I must say.
Absolutely.
And which is why even today, when people meet, even after 10 years or 20 years, and they're from IIT Delhi, they say, "अच्छा, कौन सा hostel है?" And वो hostel में क्या था कि नीलगिरी, अरावली, जब ज्वाला, काराकोरम, they were all similar. Kuma was different because people used to get single rooms for year one.
Right.
Right. और लगता भी different है. Of course, Kailash was different.
Of course.
Kailash was on the other side.
Other side, yes.
But all the other hostels similar. And then there were some PG hostels. Now, of course, there are many more.
Yeah.
But hostel camaraderie was huge.
And
even so, today we have a batch group and we have a hostel.
Hostel group. Yeah. Have you interviewed any IITian and asked which was your hostel?
Lots of times.
Lots of times, yes.
Yeah, that's the first question you had. What the department क्या था? और hostel क्या था? I went to Columbus till class 10. Then I switched to DPS in class 11 because there were a lot of people at DPS who were preparing to get into IIT. There were no Fitjis and there was no. We had these correspondence programs like Brilliance and Agarwal, but there were no classroom sort of. There was no classroom test there. So as luck would have it, I thought I did better than expected. I remember physics का पहला test हुआ. Physics 110, right? It was a hard course. And you know, we were all cleared JEE, so we were all confident कि हम आगे हैं JEE clear.
सब आता है हमें, we are toppers.
Math के, physics के, chemistry के. And results came out. I don't know what happened. I got 6 on 40.
6 on 40?
In the first physics test at IIT. Average was also 6. So it was not as if I had done very badly. The average was 6, I got 6. Right? And you get a shock at IIT in this, because you know everybody who's here is a school topper or a class topper. But यहाँ पे आके तो आप सभी आगे आप जैसे सभी शेर हैं.
सब आपसे भी सवा शेर. So Hitesh, do you remember entering this gate in 1990?
Yeah, of course. And I think my dad dropped me.
Yeah.
And I was here for 4 years. This is a common room. We used to have the TD tables here, the mess there.
Yeah.
And we had a freshers night there. So there was I don't know if there is a ragging culture now, but there was a lot of ragging in those days at IIT.
Okay.
So we had it culminated with a freshers night.
Okay.
And the freshers night was organized here, and I had to sing a song on freshers night. So
which was that song?
So that song was Jumma Chumma De De.
Okay. Or just.
So I was singing, and there were a couple of freshers who were dancing.
Oh, okay.
So it was a big hit in those days.
I've heard from alumni that you guys had an hostel anthem. All hostels have their hostel anthem or as.
Yeah, बहुत चीजें होती थी, like Neil Best was of course every hostel used to think they were the best.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of hostel spirit, I must say.
Absolutely.
And which is why even today, when people meet, even after 10 years or 20 years, and they're from IIT Delhi, they say, "अच्छा, तो कौन सा hostel है?" And वो hostel में क्या था कि नीलगिरी, अरावली, जब ज्वाला, काराकोरम, they were all similar. Kuma was different because people used to get single rooms for year one.
Right.
Right. और लगता भी different है. Of course, Kailash was different.
Of course.
Kailash was on the other side.
Other side, yes.
But all the other hostels similar. And then there were some PG hostels. Now, of course, there are many more.
Yeah.
But hostel camaraderie was huge.
And
even so, today we have a batch group And we have a hostel
Hostel group. Yes, I was about to ask you that question. Like, we have hostel groups, and also, have you interviewed any IITian and asked which was your hostel?
Lots of times.
Lots of times, yes.
That's the first question you had. About the department क्या था?
हाँ.
और hostel क्या था? I remember physics का पहला test हुआ. Physics 110, right? It was a hard course. And we were all cleared JEE, so we were all confident कि हम आ गए हैं JEE clear.
सब आता है हमें, we are toppers.
Math के, physics के, chemistry के. And results came out. I don't know what happened. I got 6 on 40.
6 on 40?
In the first physics test at IIT. Average was also 6. So it was not as if I had done very badly. The average was 6, I got 6. Right? And you get a shock at IIT in this, because everybody who's here is a school topper or a class topper. But यहाँ पे आके तो आप सभी आप जैसे हैं, सभी शेर हैं.
सब आपसे भी सवा शेर. This question would be, were you front bencher or back bencher at your times at IIT, and how was it? Like, so probably we can go to your classroom and we can continue this. Do you remember, like, कुछ यादें ताज़ा हुई यहाँ की?
Yeah, बहुत सारी यादें ताज़ा हो गई. मैं actually आता रहता हूँ IIT. I've been to IIT a few times in the last few years.
Right.
Because I stay in Noida.
Right.
And I'm based out of sort of this region. So I've been here to meet a few faculty members for my reunions.
Right.
And for a few sort of programs as well over the last few years.
Right.
And I've also brought my daughters here.
Oh, so what was like their experience, being they are studying in abroad. So what was their experience?
No, they all have a lot of respect both have a lot of respect for IIT, because they know how hard it is to get into IIT.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
I was speaking to one of alumni of 98 batch. So he was like, the problem is our kids don't understand that it was how difficult to crack JEE. Now they have advantage of US university, and they know they will get over there. Yeah. So
but they all appreciate.
Yeah.
Because they have classmates, they have friends, who are sort of at it.
Absolutely.
And they've seen, they've seen question papers.
Right. Like on campus, you were involved in Rendezvous, because I heard that time Rendezvous was big. It was a big event among students.
Yes.
And I think Yashish was GSEC or BRCA.
Right. So I was not very involved. But in organizing Rendezvous, the only thing I was involved in security.
Okay.
Because Rendezvous used to draw big crowds.
Right.
And therefore we needed security on campus. And I was part of the security setup. So I was not very deeply involved, but I was sort of...
So you was at Gunda gang and that guy...
We used to get these parrot t-shirts and stuff like that. We used to draw a lot of crowds.
Right. So, this just to start with, it would be very casual, it would be very candid. So we want your input, like as a student, and Hitesh then and now. Okay. So I've been seeing your videos for last couple of days. So I saw somewhere that your journey from Columbus to JEE to IIT was very interesting.
Yeah.
So I also read somewhere that one student from your colony used to come to IIT, or so आप पे हमेशा कुछ प्रेशर था कि शर्मा जी के बेटे ने JEE क्रैक कर लिया या something like that?
So I grew up in Delhi.
Right.
Middle class family. I used to stay in Rajouri Garden, and it was a very interesting colony where I stayed. And my neighbor, actually, he was JEE 26.
Oh.
And he went to IIT Kanpur. He was 3-4 years senior to me. There was another gentleman in my colony, JEE 49. He went to IIT Delhi. Another one I learned later, I did not know him at that time, JEE 82.
Okay.
Right. Another neighbor, somebody who used to stay 4 houses away, 4 years senior to me, went to IIT Delhi, electrical engineering, then went to Schlumberger after IIT. So there were a bunch of people out there who, for some reason, went to IIT. And there was a concentration. I did not realize it at that time. I thought, har jagah aise hi hota hoga. But this is something I understood many years later. So growing up in a middle class family, it was all about, during our time, yaar, ya to engineer ban jao,
ya doctor ban
jao.
Ladka hai to engineer, ladki
whatever,
hai to
right? So I went to Columbus till class 10. Then I switched to DPS in class 11 because there were a lot of people at DPS who were preparing to get into IIT. There were no FitGs and there was no. We had these correspondence programs like Brilliance and Agarwal, but there were no classroom sort of. There was no classroom test prep. So as luck would have it, I thought I did better than expected and got a rank. So when I was in school, my dream was to become an electronics engineer. For some reason, I was excited about hardware, not so much about software. But I got a J rank of 64. So I was offered computer science, and everybody put pressure on me. Yeah, computer science is the future. Please take computer science. Don't opt for electronics. And under pressure, actually, I opted for computer science.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up in IIT Delhi, computer science in 1990.
You know, during your IIT time, you had decided you want to do an MBA just after graduation, or how did it shape, like, you know?
So the MBA happened because I was bad at computer science.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So I did not do well at IIT.
Okay.
Okay, I managed. I was not at the bottom of the class. But you know, I was like I did not want to go overseas. So a lot of my classmates in those days, the ones who were very bright, they went overseas because they got scholarships for higher education.
Right.
And the ones who stayed back in India because there were very few jobs. I got a job. I got a job with a company called S&T Technologies. You know, it was a Noida-based company, again in semiconductors and stuff like that. But a lot of the kids who stayed back in India opted to do an MBA. Some went into civil services.
Okay.
Because it was India in the 1990s was not like India is today.
Right.
And you have so many tech companies, so many opportunities for people who graduate. During my time, the computer science kids who graduated from IIT at least got jobs. But for a lot of the people, students who graduated from the other streams, it was not easy to get jobs.
Right.
Even after IIT.
So, even after IIT?
Even after IIT. And therefore, many went overseas and many opted to do an MBA.
1994 के batch में क्या special था?
क्यों?
You know, so much, like so many success stories.
Yeah.
And if you see 92, say 95, like, you know, Saurav Mittal, Alok Mittal, you, Yashish, so many success stories.
Correct.
Like from your batch itself.
And Yashish and I were both from Nilgiri.
Nilgiri,
so,
yes.
Nilgiri में क्या था?
Nilgiri में क्या था? नहीं, मतलब Nilgiri के mess के खाने के नमक में क्या था? जो, you know, it was so special.
No, I think, you know, and hindsight is 2020 and I don't know. But see, 90s were different because India started opening up in the 90s, right? Number one. The Indian economy was closed economy. You know, in the 80s, you had to wait for, I think, 10 years to get a phone connection.
Right.
To buy a Bajaj scooter, okay, could take years. Right. So India was a socialist country, and there was a license Raj, and it started opening up in the 90s.
Privatization, you know.
Yeah. So liberalization, you know, all that started happening in the early 90s, and IT also started becoming big. So you know, so like I said, I was introduced to computers in the 80s, and by 90s, when I graduated from IIT in 94, Infosys and TCS were I think already hiring on campus. So these companies were already sort of there. You know, IT services companies that started growing, and they were looking to hire engineers with the right skills. Before that, like I said, it was very hard for engineers to get jobs even in India, and therefore most went overseas. And I think that over time created a lot of opportunities in India. Right, because a lot of these MNCs came in, they wanted to hire talent. IT services companies started growing. You know, there was Y2K, then the whole digital revolution, and that created opportunities. And I think we were perhaps at the right place at the right time.
So, you know, last segment, Hitesh, and that is our rapid fire. And this will, you know, remind you something you did with Sundar when you went to Kharagpur. And some questions would be related to your IIT life. So first question would be your favorite Delhi khana. Your favorite?
Butter chicken.
Butter chicken, okay. Or any particular like restaurant you would love to go? Or
today? Or in those days?
No, today.
So, you know, see, butter chicken, so I love so much that we cook butter chicken at home.
Right.
So, but a lot of restaurants which we used to go to Nirula's very often when I was at IIT. Right? And Chanakya mein tha, Nirula's. So, I don't know, for all our birthday celebrations, we were at Nirula's.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, Nirvalas are not what Nirvalas used to be.
Right.
But back then, it was very, very popular with us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So my second question would be your favorite actress during IIT days.
So, let me tell you a story.
Yeah.
And this my wingmates would remember.
Huh.
So, there was a young new actress in those days who was becoming very popular.
Okay.
Unfortunately, she died early.
Divya Bhatt.
Divya Bharti. So, I was actually, quite upset when that happened.
Huh.
So, for a couple of days, it took me a couple of days to recover from that shock.
Oh,
because
okay.
I had seen a couple of her movies and I really liked her at that time.
Right. And she was wonderful. She was wonderful. And right now, if I ask you the same question, favorite actress now.
Alia Bhatt, amongst the newer ones.
So have you thought anytime, signing her as a brand ambassador for any of your? No.
That's a different decision. But I have, but I have met film stars on flights.
Okay.
Who have offered to become brand ambassadors on Naukri.
Oh, okay.
Right? So it's happened a couple of once.
Okay. And your favorite sports and favorite sports person?
So right now I'm into tennis.
Yeah.
Right. So I've started playing tennis. So I started playing tennis about 2 years ago.
Right.
And I'm at it.
Yeah.
And therefore I'm very interested in tennis.
Yeah.
And therefore all the tennis stars are currently my favorites.
Oh, okay.
The new ones also, and the ones from my era. So you had Federer and Nadal and Djokovic, and now you have some other.
Right.
You have Sinner and you have Alcaraz, and you have all these new guys. So I've started watching tennis a lot more than earlier.
Okay.
Because back then one used to sort of
Cricket
was
yes.
the only sport.
So and best cricketer would be.
Lots of them. So I grew up, listening to commentary on radio.
Yeah.
Right, because that's how it used to be.
And now
watching 5-day test matches. I used to watch all 5 days.
Yeah.
So Sunny Gavaskar, Kapil Dev.
Yeah.
These were the sort of big guys when I started watching. And then of course, lately you have all these
Kohli and
Yuvraj and Kohli and others.
IIT Delhi or IIM Bangalore?
That's a tough way. I don't think I want to answer that.
Okay, then you can just scale it, out of 10 IIT Delhi, how much?
So very different experiences.
Yeah.
See, IIT was 4 years.
Yeah.
And it was the first time you were outside your home. And some of my best friends are the people I met at IIT.
Right.
IIM was 2 years, shorter. I was also 22 when I went to IIM. Because it was smaller, it was a little different. Because IIT was still, even back then, today is very big, even back then it was quite big. Very different experiences. And I continue to sort of, go back. I was at IIM, a few months back.
Right.
I was at IIT very often. I'm in touch with some people at IIM today even.
Right.
I'm helping them out with a couple of things.
Right.
I continue to be in touch with IIT. And some of my best friends are from IIM and IIT. I don't want to choose between them. They were
both are equal to you.
They've been both a very big part of my journey.
Right.
And they are the reason I'm where I am today.
Right. And how do you, what would be your one give back message to alumni and to students both? To take IIT, what actually we vision after 10 years, 15 years, what do you think?
For IIT?
For IIT.
See, the IIT, I don't think there are too many institutions like IIT,
right.
Especially IIT Delhi in this country, in India.
Yeah.
Right? IIT is a global brand.
Right.
Let's understand that. There are lots of IITians who have done well in India, but equally there are lots of IITians who have done well overseas. Right?
Absolutely.
And and I also believe if India is where it is today, it is thanks to technology and thanks to the IT industry and thanks to so many other things that have happened over the last 20, 30 years in this country.
Right.
So I think what we are sitting on is a great brand, great asset, a lot of goodwill, and a huge opportunity.
Right.
Right? Why can't IIT's dream of becoming like MIT, like Stanford, like Harvard? I think it's possible, and it's possible during my lifetime. Okay. It can happen if you focus on it for the next. It may take 10 years, may take 20 years, may take 30 years to get there. But India is a growing economy. So much action here, and IITs are, at the heart of it.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
So if we can find a way to leverage our alumni, right? Because they've all gone on to do great things. And if we can get them to sort of participate in this effort, we need to put some mechanisms in place for that to happen. Collectively, I think we can dream very big.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you, Hitesh, for giving us time, giving us an opportunity to, actually do this. And thank you very much.
And thank you for inviting me to IIT once again and giving me the opportunity to see Nilgiri.
Yeah,
and to
it's a pleasure to
brings back a lot of old memories.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure to meet you. And thanks once again for coming.
Thank you, Ankita.